I've loved Mkgee and Dijon for a long time now, and I've thought about the perfect time to do a little tutorial on the sound, influence on current R&B, and it's good timing because Justin Bieber just released his album Swag, which was heavily produced by Dijon and Eddie Benjamin, who has also got a little bit of that kind of lo-fi, guitar-y based indie stuff going on as well. And obviously Mkgee is like, you know, there's an approach here, there's a mindset, a way of thinking to conjure up that nostalgic, dreamy sound and all those other emotions, and that is in what chords you choose to play, how you choose to play them, the instrumentation, this chord progression you're hearing right now, which is just super nostalgic. Check it out. Without further ado, let's get into it. The new Bieber album does sound very Mkgee-esque. However, Mkgee is only credited on the tune Daisies, which is why I've decided to break it down. We can look at part by part what went into it, and I can explain maybe some of it. And the funny thing is, the progression is actually really simple, using mainly kind of like triads or just minor seventh. I'm gonna look at and talk about some application that you can apply to your own production to maybe inject a little bit of this nostalgic is flavor into your ideas and samples and beats as well. And I just find it really interesting because this is like a current sound. The Mkgee Dijon sound and influence permeates this whole album. This is going to be helpful for us to understand like some really important pointers and markers as to, you know, what goes into this sound. Mkgee is using a Jaguar guitar, which is strung with flat wound baritone strings and also tuned down to like, I think, open A. I actually did this with one of my guitars as an experiment, and that's what I used in our sort of example track that we'll go through later. This is a really common progression. You've got a 1, 6, 4, 5, and remember that 4, 5 part of it because that's going to come up again later on. That is your key to nostalgia. There's so many ways we can use it and elevate it and make it, you know, really bring out the nostalgia element there. But to Mkgee it, you need to play it on that baritone guitar, so here we go. You can just feel the extra presence there, and this isn't an exact replication of what was played on the original, but the chords are the same and you kind of get the idea, the feeling's similar, right? We're not looking to totally recreate here. And if you want to go more in depth on a one-to-one, hit me up on IG at B-Sticks Production and we can work something out. I think that this track starts with guitar, boom gaga gong, and it's setting up the rhythm that comes in with the drums. When the drums come in, it's quite a shuffled kind of skippy type bounce to this. I mean, essentially it's pop, but there is an R&B flavor to it, and I'm also getting a little kind of country influence as well. If I just solo out the drums now, simple drums. That's a theme, I think, with Mkgee's production. You'll see it also on his own album. The drums are usually quite simple, live sounding a lot of the time, or if they're not live sounding, they're like old school drum machine sounds. And I've heard him also say in an interview that he loves saturating his drums, and you can hear some saturation here going on as well. Nice simple open hi-hat feel, that it's nice to hear live drums instead of 808s, and nice little feel, nothing too crazy. And this groove like continues throughout the whole song, except it does break down around here. Couple of toms there, super dry sounding, very sort of 70s sounding there. That's again a recurrent theme that you're going to see with these kind of Dijon Mkgee type productions. And the other thing you can notice is these are quite organic. It's not like they've just done like a 4-bar loop and looped it round and round. This whole song seems like it's like take almost. The guitar There's subtle variations throughout. Just notice how few instruments there are here. Like, it's a minimal production. I mean, this is separated a bass, but I'm not even sure if this is just like played on that same guitar. It could be still be a bass, but it might be, as we know, that baritone guitar that's tuned down. The low string, I'm playing mine now, is just super low. And I've actually got a capo on the 3rd fret to recreate this. See how low that guitar sounds, and I'm just kind of recreating roughly what was played there. So there's not much to deconstruct. To get this full sound, you don't need many elements, and you can replace the guitar with some kind of keyboard or EP instrument. And in a lot of Mkgee and Dijon's productions, you do get an EP or a synth as well. So around bar 25, my favourite part of the song, where the energy rises, we get that open hi-hat and we get that guitar now bouncing between the 4 and the 5. Classic kind of Mkgee's. He's attacking that guitar more. I can even see in the waveform there that they haven't compressed this too much. They've left it sounding really natural, and you can see that we've got some dynamics, and dynamics is actually missing from a lot of modern R&B and pop music. So it's a really welcome thing to see here. You can feel the energy rise in this part of the song. It's interesting that they revert to this 4/5 progression here. This progression appears tons on this record. In fact, in this track right here, you're going to hear it again, just used in a slightly different way. And that really reminds me of Human Nature, Michael Jackson's song from the 80s. If you don't know it, go check it out. Absolute classic. I think the real Mkgee source sort of happens towards the end of this song, where you hear those dong 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 harmonics there, which you can make on a guitar, which you have to kind of, it's an interesting technique type thing. We won't go into that, but sonically it adds a lot of energy, and just it's classic Mkgee there really. And the first time I hear that trademark sonic signature, where he may be using like some of his pedals, I can hear some chorus going on. Chorus is like an 80s effect. If I think of 80s guitar sound, you're going to think of like a chorused out sound, like a kind of a Boston Rockman type sound. In fact, Mkgee's got a track called Rockman, and I've got a Rockman pedal as well. I'm going to show you my pedal board shortly as well, and we can have a little look at that for fun. But again, you can recreate a lot of these sounds in the box. You don't need expensive pedals to do that. So here's our session, my little tribute to like the Dijon, Mkgee, Eddie Benjamin type sound. And this is a sound you're going to hear all throughout the album. A lot of guitar stuff, a lot of ethereal pads, simple drums, and songs on top. Obviously Justin Bieber's trademark vocal, quite auto-tuned, but like he's got that distinctive tone that could only be him. If you like what you're seeing, go follow me on Instagram, bsticks production. Hit me up for a 1-to-1, and we can get into anything you want there. Also, go cop a free mini kit. The link is in the description, and I've got more coming. And in that mini kit, you've got like a mixing cheat sheet and some bass midis and all sorts of other stuff. So yeah, go cop that. And as you can see from just looking at this session, I've been true to form as to what we just saw with Bieber track. There's not many tracks at all here, and yet we've still got quite a full sound. Now, I use that baritone guitar as you saw in the opening little montage, and that's almost like a bass and a guitar in one. It takes up so much of the frequency range. The only other sound that I added in the beginning of the track was this pad sound, and I'm using like this vintage JV1080 here by Roland. I love this module, and actually my dad had one of these back in the day. It was one of the first synths I ever sort of messed about with, so brings back memories. But you can get it here from the Roland Cloud, and there's not much else going on. A couple of extra guitar parts. I'm just making a nice sort of simple bed for a vocalist, a songwriter to do their thing on top of. You could call this like a sample, and if you want this sample, hit me up again and I'll send it over to you. The key that this is in is A major, and I am doing a 2-3-4 progression at the beginning of the sample. So that means I'm going from a B minor to a C sharp minor, and then to a D major. You can hear it here. B minor, C sharp, D. There's our 4 chord. A little doo doo doo, just a thing that Mkgee would maybe do, like a little fill again, just based around like the F sharp minor pentatonic, which is the relative minor of A major, and you can just whittle around in the relative minor to get these little fill notes. You can hear on this extra guitar channel that again I've just sort of panned to the right here, breaking up the chords, playing them in a higher register on the guitar for some variation sonically. Keeping it really kind of raw and just playing out, not really editing it too much, giving it that Mkgee type feel. And I've just added this chorus, bit of reverb. He uses a Porta Studio, but I'm just using this like little plug-in version, which is cool, and I'm just pushing it quite hard here on the input to get a little bit of saturation. And then EQ'd this. This is just the guitar 2. The main guitar has got pretty much the same processing on it, but obviously I've just turned it up a little bit more, panned it ever so slightly to the right. I'm just sort of plucking out the chords and letting them ring out to go with that drum beat again. I just pulled this drum loop in from Splice and stretched it to fit, but it just had that kind of lo-fi live flavour to it. Setting the tone, and the pad of the JV1080, just called the Angels Sing, just wanted like a different kind of sustained sound to contrast with the choppiness of the guitars. Just check out these voicings. Put this top note in here. It's got a kind of ethereal, nostalgic. Anytime I put these kind of angelic singing sounds in, especially from a module like this, which was actually from the sort of late 80s, 90s, you're going to get that nostalgic kind of longing, you know, that sort of, I think Mkgee says like liminal spaces, like an old Blockbuster video or an old swimming pool that you remember going to as a kid. You know, just echoing those chords. So look, you can see we're going like 2 3 4 2 3 4. I go back to the 3 chord here actually on the progression. 2 3 4. Just added that top note in for a little bit more nostalgia. Everything I'm thinking here is like ringing out the nostalgia, you know, with the guitar. Hear that together, it's kind of hopefulness, kind of longing for a time gone by. That's really what I'm thinking. And then I started on that 4/5 progression, which is the nostalgia ringer. And so a lot of you have been asking for this as well, and you just wanted to know what I have on my board here. Now, I did build this little board as a bit of a homage to Mkgee. I started to, and then I kind of got some other bits on there as well. And it is a very, very cool pedal board that I can do a lot with. And the way that I've run it is that my guitar goes into this EQ here, which is the same EQ that Mkgee uses, the Parrot EQ. It's amazing. Like, you can make any kind of EQ sound on there, make the guitar sound honky or bright or dark, whatever you want to do. But I just kind of like mess around with it from time to time to change the settings. I go into this Shallow Waters here, which is actually like it's a bit, I use it as a chorus pedal, but it also can go very lo-fi and really mess up your sound. Sometimes I switch it out for this Rockman chorus pedal, which again, I know we spoke about a little bit. Just got options, sonic options, you know. Then I go into that synth pedal that you heard on the track that has various sounds in it, but the sound that I've set it to at the moment is like that kind of Mkgee type synthy, guitar-y synthy sound. It's like almost a bowed. I think the preset Mkgee has is like the bowed string or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, someone surely will. Then I go into my Chase Bliss Trio, the Mood, which is great for like ethereal shimmery reverbs and things like that. The Thermae, which does crazy delays, and the Blooper, which I hardly use because I can never make Blooper sound good. Although where it does sound good for me is when I just like feed something into it from Logic, and then record, just mess about with all the controls and then record it back into Logic, and you can chop crazy little like ear candies and effects out of it. I go into this FX Ranger pedal, which is like a gated reverb, again, that Mkgee loves. I use it a little bit when it does sound good. It's gold. And then this models the Porter 424 that Mkgee uses. It's just like one channel of it, and I have it set quite hot so that if I really dig into the guitar, I can get some distortion. Again, hit me up on IG if you want to hear any of this, and I'll probably do some YouTube lives where I go more into detail into this. But this is like a nice little aside from the video itself. So yeah, on this board I've kind of got everything I need: chorus, the synth, then my modulation, reverb, the crazy gated reverb, then like the distortion or saturation, and then straight into the DAW side of like DIing it from there straight into my interface. No, I don't want Mkgee purists to come for me in the comments, because yeah, I'm not trying to recreate his sound exactly, but we're getting in that ballpark. I'm just showing you maybe some ideas, some concepts that you can use and apply to your own work. Now at bar 25 we start going to this like 4/5, just like D, E, D, E. I drop the pad out and I bring in that synth guitar sound. Now Mkgee uses like a VG8, which is, well, the price of them has just skyrocketed, but it's like a Midi guitar attachment where you kind of have to put a Midi pickup on your baritone guitar, on your any guitar, and you can kind of channel different synth sounds. Pat Metheny was probably one of the most famous users of this machine back in the 80s. I bought this synth pedal. You don't need to put another pickup on the guitar, but you can kind of approximate that synth guitar tone with it. I've just used it here to sort of bring in some, I'm thinking about vocal lines that I'm playing on the guitar. You know, little slides just worked really well. Higher register, and then another line here. I can sing more lines that would again pull out that nostalgia. I'm thinking soundtrack, I'm thinking 80s movies, I'm thinking like Stranger Things, all these different images. And that's something that I haven't spoken about much really, but think of some images and how you would soundtrack them and then apply that to your samples. It's hard to articulate, but like, you know, you kind of just got to feel it out. And once you kind of know the information you're putting down, I mean, the chord progression is really simple. It's just about how I'm like eking out as much emotion and nostalgia as possible. It's just like in Daisies where you had that bass and I wasn't sure whether it was the baritone guitar or the bass. I added this in on the bottom as well. Just dum 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 dum, just plucking out like the low end of that baritone guitar here. And then brought in an organ to ramp up the tension, but just copied the MIDI across that I had on the pad here, and I'm just using like Logic's basic organ and added a bit of microshift onto that. And really that in a nutshell is everything here. So guys, if you got something out of this, go follow me on IG, Beasticks Production, and look at the video in the top corner for some more source, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.